Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and chomping the bit. I just want to talk about the Monday night football game where we saw the Eagles go up against the Washington Commanders. As you can tell from the title, the Eagles lost because we now have no more unbeaten teams left in the league. But it's not necessarily a bad thing for the Eagles because I've said this kind of on Sports Empire Network, which you can catch me on there Tuesdays and Thursdays. But the pressure for the Eagles to have to remain perfect going throughout the season would have just grown and grown with each passing week. And of course, as a football team, you don't ever want to, lose and make it seem like it's a good thing for losing. But I do think that this is something that the Eagles can kind of, you know, reset their, I guess, mindset going forward this season. Now there's no pressure on going 17-0. They can kind of just get back to just playing football and get back to winning football, because they still have the division to fight for with the Giants and the Cowboys still within reaching distance. Um, they still have, the number one seed in the NFC to fight for. Of course, with that, you get the bye in the playoffs during the first round. And then that means every game is in your building on your road to the Super Bowl. So they still have a lot to fight for. Yes, the undefeated thing is over. The Miami Dolphins party that likes to get together and, pop champagne or whatever to celebrate their status as the last undefeated team is still intact. And, there will come a time when a team does it. The Patriots came really close back in, was that 2008, I believe. And at that point, they'd went 16-0 in the regular season, went through the playoffs, and then lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants. So of course that's the closest uh, closest team to come to the whole undefeated record. The Eagles gave it a good run, but as you could kind of see during these last few weeks, the games definitely were getting tougher and tougher. And I know a lot of people were looking at their schedule, talking about how they'd be favorited in pretty much every game the rest of the way. But you got to realize with the NFL, it's one thing to be a favorite in the game, but each game takes on its own kind of narrative and story. And if you're not playing your best football on any given Sunday, Thursday, Monday, you can be beaten by anybody in the league. I don't care if it's a winless team, one win, two wins. I mean, in this case, the Commanders came into the game at 4-5, but even the Commanders, you got to look at their record and say Taylor Heineke has played much better with that team than Carson Wentz did to start the season. And you got to wonder if Taylor Heineke was the starting quarterback to start the year, what would the Commanders' record look like? I'm not trying to say that they would have been undefeated or anything, but maybe they have a game or more uh, in the win column because they're 5-5 right now. So that's not a bad place to be right now. So they've bettered their standing in terms of playoff positioning. Now in the division, by giving the Eagles their loss, that makes them with 3.5 games back. Might be a lot to make up, in 7 games, but the way the NFC is going, if you're over 500, you have a shot at the playoffs. So the Commanders getting to 500 definitely puts them in a good position. If the Niners slip up or the Seahawks slip up, one of those teams, maybe they could find their way into a playoff spot. Now, I did find it a little interesting after the game. They were showing Carson Wentz and talking about how he's getting healthy. At this point, I think Carson Wentz has lost his job. I don't see how Ron Rivera can go back to Carson Wentz based off of these past few weeks and how Taylor Heineke has gotten Commanders wins to get them kind of back in contention, to then switch from that to go back to Carson Wentz and risk Carson Wentz, go back to turning the ball over and losing games. You could create a like fracture in the locker room of guys who prefer Heineke to Wentz, and that could really become a serious thing. So I think they have to ride it out with Heineke until he becomes ineffective or comes up with an injury, which of course I'm not wishing on any player, but I don't think there should be a rush or a desire to bring Carson Wentz back as long as Heineke is playing the way that he currently is. And then also to get back on the Eagles, yeah, because of this loss, people might be wondering, are they the best team in the NFC? We just saw the Vikings beat the Bills. So there's going to be a lot of people who are on the Vikings train this week. I think it's understandable. The Vikings getting that win over Buffalo is a big win for them. Obviously, it's their best win of the season. And in the matter that they did it coming back in that game to stun the Bills on the road, that's a big deal. Now, the Eagles can, you know, easily come back from this loss. What are they, 8-1? So they have 8 games left. If they ran the no, not yeah, they ran the table, ended up 16-1. Sure, that'd be a really good season. But I kind of thought the Eagles would finish up like 14-3, maybe 13-4, that kind of record. So I still think the Eagles are a top team in the NFC. I don't think there's a reason to question that. You know, some people are talking about Jalen Hurts' performance. He didn't crack 200 yards passing. I think he had like 175 yards. But I mean, this day and age in this NFL, that's not that big of a deal. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, so still a positive there. The running game, I think maybe they could feature that a little bit more because they were running. They had 4.7 yards a carry. They had 20 carries. That's a decent amount. Maybe they up that to like 25 carries, and then maybe that helps them out a little bit more. Not, I mean, Jalen Hurts only had 26 passing attempts. So the big issue with this game was, I'm assuming, the Commanders had a commanding lead in time of possession, which they did. And that's the biggest factor in this game. 40 minutes for the Commanders, and the Eagles only had the ball for 19 and a half minutes. It's tough to win any game against anybody when you only have the ball for 19 and a half minutes. So that's going to be something going forward that they're going to have to try to shore up. And I know that they was a Jordan Davis, who's their defensive tackle, who's out for like the next couple of weeks. We saw the void that he left because the Commanders ran for over 150 yards. So with Jordan Davis not being there, he was their best like run stuffer. I don't want to say that like that's a blueprint for beating the Eagles right now, but it's definitely something that you have to go into any game against the Eagles right now, as long as Jordan Davis is out, and try to establish the run until they show that they can stop it. Because what makes the Eagles great defensively is their secondary. So if their secondary can stay at home and lock down receivers, that gives the defensive line enough time in pass rushing. But if you're allowed to run the ball on them, like Washington did, you control the clock. You kind of take the secondary out of the equation because the secondary can only affect the run by coming up and making tackles. I mean, Heineke was 17 for 29, not great in terms of completion percentage. 211 yards, that's decent. And no touchdowns, 1 interception. So he didn't have the greatest day, but he did enough to get them the win. I mean, like I said, they won 32-21. The score is misleading because their last score was when the Eagles were trying to throw it around, in the scramble drill, basically to try to score when it was like 5 seconds left. The Commanders ended up with the ball. I think was it Devontae Smith tried to throw it back to Jalen Hurts maybe, but he came up short, and then a Washington defender took it in the end zone, so that made it from 26 to 21 to 32. So the game wasn't that big of a spread, but um, definitely a good win for Washington. Philly fans, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. I kind of assumed you're going to lose a game at some point in here because it's tough to go undefeated. It really is, and the amount of pressure that comes with it. I don't know if teams really want to do that, but um, we'll have to see if this turns into like a string of losses for the Eagles. Then you could be a little bit worried, but I'm not expecting that because looking at their schedule, they have Indy coming up next. They'll be favored in that game. They should win. I will say that they should win that game, but we saw with the Colts, maybe Jeff Saturday's brought some new blood. Who knows? Green Bay. Green Bay has their struggles. We know. Green Bay can run the ball though, so that could be an equalizer there. So that might be a closer game than normal, but that's a game that I think they'll be favored in. Tennessee. Tennessee likes to run the ball as well. So the Eagles have a couple of games coming up here where it could be tough. No, they have the Giants right after that. Another team that likes to run with Saquon Barkley. The Bears, Justin Fields is a scrambling quarterback, so he can run. But that's a game they'll be favored in. Dallas, we know they like to run. The Saints, yeah, Saints can run the ball with Kamara. And then the Giants stay in the season. So there's a couple of games in there that might be a little dicey for you Eagles fans, but I see maybe one or two losses left in their season. So they should be fine. I think they'll probably still end up as the number one seed, although they're now in battle with the Vikings. Luckily, they have the tiebreaker because of their win over the Vikings earlier in the season. But we'll see. Like I said, the NFL has been really unpredictable this season. So I don't want to sit here and say that it's like a lock that they win the NFC East, that they get a top four seed, maybe a top two seed, but I wouldn't worry too much, Eagles fans, based off of this loss. But of course, let me know what you think, especially Eagles fans. How are you feeling after the Monday night loss? Do you think it's doomsday? Do you think that maybe some warts that maybe you weren't recognizing with this team might have appeared? And I guess Commanders fans, are you encouraged by what you saw? Do you think the Commanders can maybe make a run at a playoff spot? And if it comes down to it and Carson Wentz is healthy, do you want the Commanders to go back to Wentz? Or do you want to stick it out with Heineke and kind of see where this goes at this point? So definitely let me know down in the comments section. But yeah, no undefeated teams left. Hey, this stretch run of the NFL over the next couple of weeks, I think it's going to be really crazy and wildly entertaining. And I'm here for it. I'll definitely be coming back with plenty of videos talking about the NFL the weeks ahead. But thanks again for you guys tuning in. And before I go, just to let you know, check me out, Sports Empire Network on Facebook, YouTube, also Tiki Live if you want to watch it on TV. I'm on the network Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, both nights at 7 p.m. This week I'll be on there Friday night for the And One podcast where we strictly talk basketball over there. So definitely check that show out. That'll be third appearance for the week. And then we'll see about Friday nights. I might do a Friday night here or there, but Tuesday and Thursday nights, I'm definitely there every week. And then Friday nights, catch me at the JJL Sports Talk Show, YouTube, Facebook. If you're an audio listener, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts as well. So those are two places you can find me if I'm not doing an episode on here, of course. So we'll really love your support over there as well as on this channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on here first. Hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. And if you're on Facebook, you can follow the Chomping at the Bit page on Facebook and listen or watch episodes over there as well. So whatever you're choosing, feel free. But thanks again. Have a great day. Be safe out there. God bless. I'll catch you in the next episode. All right. I'll see you guys.